You ever notice how people beg for answers, then panic when they actually get them? They cry out for some kind of sign, a voice in the dark, something to tell them what's next. And then, boom, it's there. Not a whisper, not a hint. A voice so loud it rattles you to your bones. But instead of moving, they freeze. Instead of listening, they question if they're going crazy. Because the truth is, most people don't want direction. They want comfort. They don't want to be told the truth. They want to be told they're fine exactly where they are. But when the message is too clear to ignore, it strips away all the little excuses, all the soft lies you've been feeding yourself. It leaves you standing there with one choice: act, or prove you never really wanted to. Clarity? That's the moment the fog lifts, isn't it? The point where the static in your head finally clears and you can see the shape of what's really going on. But here's the funny thing about clarity. Most people treat it like a pretty picture to stare at, not a signal to move. They sit there admiring the view, telling themselves how lucky they are to understand, as if knowing was enough, as if the truth politely waits for them to get up and do something about it. It doesn't. The moment you see it, the clock starts ticking. The longer you wait, the colder it gets, until it rots right there in your hands. The world doesn't reward the ones who sit on clarity like it's a museum exhibit. It rewards the ones who act fast, messy, imperfect. Because clarity isn't meant to make you comfortable. It's meant to shove you into the fire. You think you're waiting for the right time, the perfect setup. That's just fear in a tuxedo, smiling at you while it chains your feet to the floor. Every second you hesitate, the edge dulls, the window narrows, and what was once obvious starts to look negotiable again. That's how people talk themselves out of the very thing they swore they'd do. It's amusing, isn't it? People pray for answers, for signs, for some cosmic whisper that tells them what to do. And when it comes, clear as day, they flinch. Suddenly it's too soon, too risky, too uncomfortable. They dress it up as being careful or thinking it through. But deep down, they know the truth. Clarity doesn't feel safe because it's not supposed to. It's the sharp edge that cuts away the excuses. It's the alarm that wakes you up at an ungodly hour and dares you to hit snooze. And every time you do, it gets easier to go back to sleep. You can't keep telling yourself you'll act when it feels easier. That's the joke. Clarity isn't here to make it easy. It's here to strip away the nonsense and leave you with nothing but a choice. Jump or don't. And if you hesitate long enough, you'll find yourself back in the fog, pretending you never saw it in the first place. Because then you don't have to admit you let it slip away. People love the safety of blindness. It's the comfort of not knowing, the permission to stay still. But once you see, you can't unsee. You can only pretend. And pretending is a slow kind of death. Clarity is a blade. It cuts you loose from the lies you've been telling yourself. But it can also cut you open if you're not ready to move. That's why it's dangerous. It forces you into a corner where the only way out is through. And that's where most people crumble. They want the truth to pat them on the back, not push them into the unknown. But the unknown doesn't care about your comfort. It rewards the bold, the reckless, the ones who take a step before they have the map. Because clarity doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with an invitation, and you either RSVP with action or let the seat go cold. You can tell who understands this by how they move. They don't wait for the applause or the permission slip. They see the opening, and they're through it before anyone else even notices the door was unlocked. They burn the bridge behind them, not because they're brave, but because they know if they leave it standing, they'll be tempted to go back. That's the real reason people fail. It's not the risk. It's the escape route they keep hidden, just in case. Clarity demands you torch it all. Discomfort. People treat it like an unwelcome guest. Something to avoid, to push out of sight, to smother under layers of distraction. But here's the thing. They don't realize discomfort isn't there to ruin their day. It's there to sharpen them. It's the grinding stone that shapes the blade, the weight that forces the muscle to grow. Without it, you stay soft, dull, harmless. But the moment it knocks on the door, people panic. They hide. They reach for anything, food, screens, noise, to drown out the sound. And in doing so, they waste the very thing that could have made them untouchable. You see, discomfort doesn't wait for your permission. It shows up in the middle of your carefully planned life, rips the tablecloth off, and sends everything crashing to the floor. And while you're scrambling to pick up the pieces, there's a lesson staring you right in the face. But most people are too busy cursing the mess to see it. They treat discomfort like an enemy instead of what it really is, a ruthless teacher. Not the kind that holds your hand, the kind that throws you into the deep end and watches if you sink or swim. That's how it works. It strips away the safety nets so you find out what you're really made of. The tragedy is, most will never find out. Because the second the water gets cold, they scramble back to shore. They run toward warmth, not realizing that warmth is where they've been dying all along. Comfort feels safe, sure, but it's a slow suffocation. It dulls your instincts, numbs your ambition, and convinces you that good enough is noble. And by the time you realize it's a trap, your edge is gone. You're soft. And soft things don't survive storms. Discomfort, on the other hand, will teach you faster than any book, any lecture, any self-help speech ever could. It strips away the polite lies you tell yourself. It exposes the cracks you've been painting over for years. It doesn't care about your excuses, your plans, your delicate little schedule. It shows you exactly where you're weak and dares you to do something about it. And if you're foolish enough to run from it, it will chase you, finding you in every corner you think is safe. Because the truth is, you can't hide from it forever. It's stitched into the fabric of life. And if you don't seek it, it will find you on its terms. The ones who get it really get it. Don't wait for discomfort to arrive. They go looking for it. They throw themselves into the cold water before anyone pushes them. They walk into the storm without an umbrella, not because they're masochists, but because they understand that the pain of growth is nothing compared to the pain of staying the same. They know that the easy road always loops back to the same dead end. So they take the hard one, the steep one, the one that burns their legs and fills their lungs with fire. And somewhere along that climb, they realize they're not just enduring the pain, they're changing because of it. But here's the twist. Discomfort is never just about pain. It's about transformation. It's the silent deal you make with yourself, suffer now or suffer later. And the ones who choose, no, discover a strange thing. They stop fearing it. They even crave it. Because they've learned the secret. Every drop of discomfort they endure makes them harder to break. And in a world that tries to break you every single day, that's the only real advantage you'll ever have. People think survival is about luck. Right place, right time, right people. But that's a bedtime story for the weak. Survival isn't about the cards you're dealt. It's about how far you're willing to bend before you break. Most people, they snap at the first sign of pressure. They're fragile because they've built their lives on the illusion that tomorrow will be just like today. Same comfort, same routine, same little bubble of safety. But the world doesn't care about your bubble. One gust, one crack in the system, and it shatters. And when it does, you see something ugly, how unprepared most really are. See, survival is a mindset long before it's an action. It's not the muscles, not the weapons, not the gear. Those help, sure, but without the will to adapt, they're nothing but dead weight. The truth is, survival belongs to those who can stay calm while the ground is giving way under their feet. People want it to be glamorous, like in the movies. Dramatic escapes, heroic speeches. But it's not. Survival is dirty, it's messy. It's clawing your way forward when your body's screaming to quit. It's making decisions you hate because the alternative is worse. And most can't stomach that. They'd rather go down pretending everything's fine than face the ugly truth. And the truth is this: nothing is stable. Not your job, not your home, not your relationships, not even your own body. Everything is one bad day away from crumbling. People don't like hearing that. They call it negative or paranoid. But what they don't understand is the paranoid survive because they prepare. The rest, they get blindsided. And when the storm hits, they're standing there with empty hands, wondering why nobody warned them. They were warned. They just didn't listen. Survival isn't about brute force. It's about knowing when to fight and when to vanish. It's about reading the room, the street, the silence. It's about seeing danger before it's close enough to bite. And that kind of awareness doesn't just happen. It's built from being uncomfortable, from taking hits, from losing and learning why. But most people, they can't handle the lesson. They want to win without losing first, eat without hunger, rest without work. They want the rewards of survival without ever having to fight for them. And here's where it gets twisted. The world doesn't just test you once. Oh no, it keeps coming back. Different day, different disguise. It'll come as a crisis, a betrayal, a disaster you didn't see coming. And every time, it's asking the same question: how badly do you want to keep going? And if your answer isn't loud enough, strong enough, ruthless enough, you won't make it. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't choose to. Survival is a choice every single time. And choosing it means sacrificing things you thought you couldn't live without. That's why so few actually do it. They're not willing to pay the price. The ones who do, they're different. You can see it in their eyes. That sharpness, that edge, that unshakable stillness, even when the whole room is losing its mind. Because they've been there before. They've crawled through the fire, walked through the dark, tasted the kind of fear that leaves a permanent mark. And they came out harder, colder, smarter. They know the rules now. And the first rule is this: no one's coming to save you. Not the government, not your friends, not some miracle, just you. Your hands, your mind, your will. And if you're not ready to rely on those, you're already done. And the irony: the moment you stop waiting to be saved, you start actually living. Because you're no longer frozen, waiting for permission to act. You move. You adapt. You become unpredictable. And in a world that thrives on predictability, that makes you dangerous. Not the kind of dangerous people brag about, but the kind that quietly survives while others are being swallowed whole. People crave control like it's air. They wake up every morning believing they've got their hands on the wheel, that every step they take is part of some neat little plan. But control, that's the sweetest lie we tell ourselves. One flicker, one glitch in the system, and suddenly you're not driving anymore. You're being dragged. The illusion shatters, and you're left staring at the pieces, wondering when the ground vanished beneath your feet. That's the part nobody likes, to admit they were never in control to begin with. See, life isn't some perfect, balanced equation. It's chaos dressed up in patterns, just convincing enough to keep you calm. And when that calm is ripped away, people panic. They grab at anything. Rules, leaders' false promises, just to feel safe again. But that's the trap. When you're desperate for control, you'll take it from anyone who offers it, even if it's poison. And the cruel joke: they won't give it to you. They'll make you think you have it, while pulling the strings so tight you can't even breathe without their permission. The smart ones, They don't chase control. They understand it's temporary, fragile, and usually borrowed. Instead, they learn to work with chaos. They adapt to it. They find comfort in unpredictability because they know the second you expect the world to play fair, you've already lost. Control isn't about forcing life into a box. It's about learning how to stand when the floor tilts. But people hate that idea because it means giving up the fantasy that they're in charge. And that's why so many break the moment something unexpected happens. They cling to the way things should be instead of facing how things are. They waste their strength trying to drag reality back into their little blueprint, not realizing the blueprint was useless the second the ink dried. Reality doesn't care about your expectations. It moves the pieces without asking. The storm doesn't wait for your umbrella. The fire doesn't stop because you weren't ready. And control, it slips through your fingers while you're busy telling yourself you still have it. The ones who last, the ones who outplay the chaos, they do something most can't stomach. They let go, not in weakness, but in strategy. They stop wasting energy trying to command the storm and instead learn to move with it. They know when to push, when to pull back, when to disappear entirely. And because they're not blinded by the need to be in charge, they see more, hear more, react faster. They don't freeze when the lights go out. They're already moving. They don't scream for someone to fix it. They're already fixing it themselves. But letting go of control doesn't mean you drift aimlessly. It means you stop clinging to the wheel and start learning the terrain. You make moves not because you think you can master the chaos, but because you know you can survive it. That's a different kind of power, one that can't be taken away, because it's not built on illusions. And that kind of power makes people nervous. It's quiet, subtle, and impossible to predict. And here's the dark twist. People will hate you for it. They'll call you reckless, dangerous, unpredictable. Why? Because your existence reminds them of a truth they can't face. That their control is a costume stitched together with fear and habit. And once they see you moving freely, they start to feel the threads unraveling on their own lives. That's why they'll try to drag you back into the cage. They need you to be like them, so they can pretend they're safe. But if you've already tasted what it's like to move without chains, Why would you crawl back in? You've seen that chaos isn't the enemy, it's the stage. And the ones who dance on it without flinching, they're the ones who write the story while everyone else is still trying to hold the pen steady.